You see that title? Yeah, it's not clickbait. I'm a retired Navy SEAL. 15 years, multiple deployments. You learn one rule above all. Never let anyone threaten your family, and on a humid Tuesday morning. 2 HOA enforcers forgot that rule. It started when my wife Mia was out front trimming the hedges by our mailbox. She loves that quiet time, sun on her shoulders, humming a song while she works. We just moved into this peaceful neighborhood by the lake, hoping for a fresh start after I retired, but these HOA guys, they rolled up in a dusty golf cart like they were storming a compound. One of them, a sweaty guy with mirrored sunglasses, yelled across the yard, "That's a violation. You're too close to the property line." Mia paused, politely asked what the issue was, and that's when the second guy, taller, red-faced, jumped out, getting way too close. He started jabbing a finger at her, accusing her of destroying HOA property. She tried to explain, but he just kept stepping closer, until she could feel his breath. She called me. Voice trembling, but you could tell she was holding strong. I was inside, sorting through boxes, but the moment I heard her tone, the old training kicked in. I stepped outside, calm, controlled, but ready, and there they were. One shouting, one smirking, both of them in cheap polo shirts with a fake authority complex. Mia looked at me, eyes wide, trying to keep the peace. But I saw it, that glint of fear when one of them reached for something on his belt. "You want to tell me what's going on?" I said, stepping between Mia and the man, my stance calm but unmovable. The tall one snapped, "Who are you? This doesn't concern you." I paused, letting the silence hang. "It does now." He scoffed, "You think you're tough, old man." I gave a small smile. "No, I know I am." That's when the situation snapped. The smaller guy tried to push past me toward Mia, and I instinctively blocked him, firm hand on his chest, not aggressive, but final. "Don't touch my wife." His face went pale. Mia behind me whispered, "Babe, it's okay. Let's just go inside." But I shook my head. "No, they came onto our property. They think they can intimidate us." The man's radio crackled, and I could hear someone on the other end say, "You need backup." They were calling in more HOA enforcers. For what? A hedge? That's when I told them, "I'm done talking." And calmly, I reached into my pocket, pulled out my wallet, and flashed my retired Navy SEAL ID. The air changed instantly. The smirk faded. The bravado drained. The taller one tried to stammer, We didn't know." I cut him off. "No, you didn't. And that's your problem." In that moment, the neighborhood curtains were moving. People were watching. And these 2 tough guys realized they had made the worst decision of their day. They tried to mumble about reporting us to the HOA board, but the fear in their eyes was clear, and I let them walk away, not because I was scared, but because I had a better plan. Because you see, this wasn't just about hedges. This was about power, control, and intimidation, and they were about to learn that they picked the wrong family to bully. What happened next would tear apart their fake authority, expose a corruption racket inside this HOA, and flip the entire neighborhood upside down. They thought they could scare my wife. Instead, they triggered a reckoning. They thought walking away would end it, but these HOA enforcers had bruised egos, and bruised egos don't heal quietly. The next morning, Mia opened the front door to find a bright orange violation notice taped across the glass. Unauthorized landscaping, blocking common property, fines pending, all because she trimmed a hedge. Mia's shoulders sank. I could see it hurt her, the way they tried to shame her. This was our home, our safe place after years of deployments and goodbyes. I took the paper, read it carefully, and felt that calm steel settle inside me. They wanted to play intimidation games. Fine. That day, I installed 2 hidden cameras on the front porch and by the driveway. I wanted evidence, not a fight. We went about our day, pretending we didn't notice the HOA patrol car creeping by, slowing down in front of our home. That evening, Mia and I were having coffee on the porch. The sky was painted pink and gold, birds chattering, breeze cool across the lake. For a moment it felt peaceful, until we heard the golf cart again. It rolled to a stop, same 2 enforcers plus a third. This one older with a clipboard, looking like he hadn't smiled in 20 years. They didn't bother knocking. They stood on the sidewalk shouting, "We're issuing a citation for obstruction of HOA easement." I took a slow sip of coffee, put the cup down, and stood. "Gentlemen," I said, "this is harassment." The tall one smirked. "File a complaint." I smiled back. "Oh, I will." Mia recorded from behind me, her phone angled just enough to catch their faces, their tone, the ridiculousness of it all. Then they crossed the line. The smaller one stepped into our yard, yanking at the hedges, claiming he needed to measure encroachment. Mia's hand gripped mine. She was shaking. I squeezed back, steady. I calmly said, "Leave our property." The clipboard man said, "You don't tell us what to do here." I tilted my head. "You sure about that?" He scoffed. "Who do you think you are?" And that's when I stepped forward, just enough to make him take a step back. "I'm the man who will hold you accountable." I didn't need to yell. I didn't need threats. My calm was enough. They retreated, spitting out warnings about massive fines and legal action. The golf cart tires squealed as they left. Mia let out a breath she'd been holding. Her eyes were glassy, but her chin was up. That night, we reviewed the camera footage, every word, every step onto our property, every attempt to intimidate us. I compiled it into a neat folder labeled HOA Harassment Evidence, and I started making calls. A friend on the city council, a neighbor who'd been quietly dealing with the same harassment, a local news contact who always answered my calls. This wasn't just about us anymore. It was about everyone they tried to bully into silence. Mia, sitting beside me, whispered, "They're not going to stop, are they?" I looked her in the eye, steady and sure, "No, but neither am I." A few days later, the real fireworks started. I woke up to the flashing lights of a patrol car outside our home. Mia, half awake, whispered, "They actually called the cops." I peeked out the window. There they were, the HOA enforcers, arms folded, smirking as they spoke to the responding officers. I pulled on a shirt, stepped outside, and walked down the porch, calm, deliberate. The officers turned as I approached, hands resting on their belts, watching me closely. "Sir," one said, "we received a complaint of a disturbance here." I nodded. "And who made that complaint?" They glanced back at the HOA enforcers. The clipboard man waved dramatically. "He threatened us. He's unstable." I raised an eyebrow. "Unstable?" One officer shifted uncomfortably. "They claimed you threatened them with violence." I took a breath, pulled out my phone, and played the footage. The clear video of me standing on my porch, calm, telling them to leave. The officers watched in silence. The HOA enforcers' smirks began to slip. I looked at the officers. "Anything else?" They sighed. "Sir, it's clear there's no disturbance here." Then, the moment that shifted everything, I handed over a card. The officer read it, and his eyes widened. He glanced at me, then back at the card, then back at the HOA enforcers. They didn't know. They didn't know I'm a retired Navy SEAL. They didn't know I still work with the sheriff's office as a tactical advisor. And they definitely didn't know these officers respected me. The older officer stepped forward, turned to the enforcers, and said, "You're wasting police resources. Do not call us again unless there's a real emergency." Clipboard man's face flushed red, his mouth opening and closing without words. Mia stepped out onto the porch, standing next to me, her hand in mine, chin lifted. We stood there together, the morning sun behind us, the breeze off the lake carrying the quiet victory in the air. The officers left. The enforcers stomped off, muttering about lawsuits and violations, but they didn't look back. Inside, Mia hugged me, tears of relief in her eyes. "I'm so tired of this," she whispered. I held her close. "It's almost over. I promise." Because it wasn't just about stopping the harassment anymore. It was about exposing them. That day, I finished the report I'd been working on, a full documentation of their harassment, lies, and misuse of HOA authority. I sent it to the local news station. I sent it to the neighborhood email list. I sent it to the county commissioner, the city council, and every homeowner in the HOA. The truth was out. No more hiding, no more whisper campaigns. It was time to stand up, not just for Mia, but for every family they'd tried to scare. And this was just the beginning. The emails I sent out, they worked faster than I expected. By evening, our inbox was flooded with messages from neighbors, stories of fines for May, DUP violations, threats if they didn't pay, intimidation for speaking out. They'd been living in fear too, fear of these enforcers hiding behind a clipboard and a fake smile. But fear has a way of evaporating when you realize you're not alone. The next morning, a group of neighbors gathered at our driveway, young parents, retirees, single folks, all standing together holding coffee, sharing quiet nods. They wanted to fight back, and they were ready. I printed every piece of evidence, photos, video clips, screenshots of texts, emails with threats, and receipts of fines that had no legal basis. We weren't going to confront them with fists. We were going to confront them with truth. That evening, the HOA held their emergency meeting. In the clubhouse, we showed up early, documents in hand, the neighbors behind us, their eyes bright with hope. And fear. And resolve. The enforcers strutted in, clipboards ready, trying to command the room. They didn't expect us to show up. They didn't expect us to be united. When it was time for public comments, I stepped forward. I paused, looked around the room, letting the silence build, letting them feel it. I held up the folder and said, "You've used fear to control this community. That ends tonight." I played the video of them screaming at Mia. The room fell silent. I showed the photo of the clipboard man trespassing on our property, taking photos of Mia through the window, gasps from the crowd. I shared the receipts of illegal fines issued to an elderly neighbor who was too afraid to speak up until now. A tear rolled down her cheek in the back row. The HOA president tried to interrupt, but neighbors shouted him down, let him speak. When I was done, I looked at them and said, "I fought for this country. I won't stand by while you bully families in it." The enforcers didn't smirk anymore. They packed up their clipboards, mumbling, avoiding eye contact as they rushed out. A week later, a vote was held. The enforcers were removed. New, fair board members were voted in. The illegal fines were reversed. The trespass orders were enforced against them instead. And Mia, she stood on our porch that evening, watching the sunset over the lake, a smile of real peace on her face for the first time in months. She turned to me and whispered, "We're free." I wrapped my arm around her, kissed her forehead, and whispered back, "No one will ever scare you again, not while I'm here." Because sometimes the fight doesn't end on the battlefield. Sometimes it's in your own front yard, and sometimes the people who think they can bully the quiet ones forget that we're not quiet because we're weak. We're quiet because we're strong enough to wait for the right moment, and when that moment comes, we protect what's ours. If you felt this fight in your heart, don't forget to like, share, and comment justice below to show your support for standing against HOA bullies. And if you want more real, powerful stories like this one, subscribe to Real HOA Nightmares and hit the bell so you never miss an upload.